How long is God going to let all this Baal worshiping nonsense, all of Ahab's craziness continue in Israel and leak into Judah? The answer is not very long. We're going to look at exactly that in 2 Kings 9 to 11. That's the reading for today. There is some repeat from what we've read in Chronicles, but it feels like we get a lot more detail here in 2 Kings.
So Jehu is he opens up the scene for us here. So he is the king of Israel. He's anointed. He comes in and he just starts slashing people left and right. And to me, it's kind of like you read this stuff and you think like, oh, that's actually really good because all this stuff was super evil. But then it's like, man, like I wouldn't have wanted to be him. I mean, I know he's doing the right thing by like, no, we're not worshiping other gods. We're not doing this anymore. But at the same time, it's like, dang, he like tricked everybody into the temple at the same time just to like, I don't know, kill them all off in a heartbeat.
Funny. So he says Ahab worshipped Baal a little bit. Jehu will worship Baal a lot. And it's all just to trick people to come in.
Yeah, so he gets them all in there, and then he basically tells all the people outside too, like, hey, if any of you like help out any of these guys or like change your mind that you're like on their side, you will be killed too. So I think, again, it's like, it's good that they're ridding themselves of all of this stuff, but there's like this weird, like this humanity piece for me that's just like, that would be really hard to just like stomach and deal with.
It does seem like all the killing is pretty easy for Jehu.
Yeah.
He kills the king of Israel. He kills the king of Judah. He kills
Jezebel.
Well, I mean, he has her eunuchs throw her out of a tower.
Right.
He kills off the sons of Ahab. At one point, it's like 70 people.
All the descendants of Ahab, like on the road, just coming to visit.
Yep.
Like,
So there is a lot of death and destruction in these chapters, but it is definitely a reckoning for the sins of the people. God had spoken through Elijah that this entire line was going to be destroyed, that Ahab would have no descendants and they would all be destroyed. And Ahab actually repents for a hot second, but Ahab falls back into his sin, and so these people still come under judgment. And Jehu is the instrument that God has chosen to use. So to me, it's very similar to the Israelites coming into the Promised Land and God using Israel as his chosen instrument of justice. Mm-hmm. And so here God is using Jehu as his chosen instrument of justice. And Jehu is, like, people are scared of him.
Well, I think too, like, it seems like he's just like, boom, 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 I'm going to go kill off all these guys. But at the same time, like, when he was anointed king of Israel, like, part of his anointing was, he was told, like, you are going to strike down the house of Ahab, like, no doubt about it. So, like, I think it being in that situation too, like, this is no little thing to Jehu. Like, he's been anointed the king of Israel. He's been told what he's going to do. And part of it being, like, you're going to strike down the whole house of Ahab. So, like, it's not a question of, like, well, maybe I should. Like, no, he is, like, tasked with this thing, and he is just going full-fledged for it because that's what he's been told he's going to do.
There's also at this point some kind of very large temple to Baal, like huge, because it fits all these people, and it's a lot of people. And they kill all the people, and they destroy the temple, and they turn it into a very large bathroom. And the text actually says, to this day it remains a very large bathroom. And so you can see here that Ahab, we're past Ahab, but you can see here that this wicked king, and I guess he was just following what was laid out before him. There were a lot of wicked kings before him. But wicked leadership degrades a nation quickly.
Yeah.
And we've seen the reckoning extends to Judah, and so far Judah has been like sort of okay. Like they have not been as wicked as Israel.
Yeah.
But even here, Judah is being deceived and being drug away into idol worship. Mm-hmm. We do get a little bit of that in the second part of this reading, where Athaliah becomes queen over Judah, and she kills off the household.
All her descendants.
Yeah. And Jehoiada is going to become kind of a Jehu figure in Judah. Jehoiada is going to be the high priest.
J names.
There's a lot of J names, and the names do get, I mean, the names get confusing. You have to pay careful attention
I
to
was
who
gonna
is
say
who.
sometimes we just like write it out because I have to see it because like oh my
Yeah.
gosh, all these freaking names.
But Jehoiada is going to be faithful to the Lord.
He's like a priest.
Yeah, he's the high priest of
Yeah.
God in Jerusalem, and so he is going to protect the rightful king. He's going to protect the hearts of the people, make sure they're worshiping the Lord. And actually, I think Jehoiada does half decent. Jehu does not.
So what we have then, which is crazy. So like both of these kingdoms are definitely subpar, fall into the wayside often. So Jehu comes in and completely like sanitizes all of Israel. And then you've got Jehoiada who is coming in to protect the kingdom of Judah with what's
Joash.
his name? Joash, thank you. So in the meantime, it seems like the kingdom of Judah is a little bit shaky yet because Athaliah is still in charge.
Yeah.
However, behind the scenes, Jehoiada is making sure that the kingdom of Judah also will be like sanitized of all of this craziness. So we come to the end of chapter 11 where Athaliah is she's removed from her position because this other king, Joash, has been set up in the background and he's ready to rule. So it seems that there's like this actual like, okay, clean slate, we're starting over. Like all these people are like ready to lead in a better direction. So it's like, okay, there's like a glimmer of hope.
It's interesting too because Athaliah, she finds Joash and Jehoiada in the temple, basically, like in the house of God. And she shouts out, treason! This is treasonous! Like, you've protected this kid that's supposed to be dead. And they decide they're going to kill her, but not in the house of God.
Yeah,
so they have to drag her outside.
She's not worthy of being killed in here. That's crazy.
The text says that Jehu removed worship of Baal from Israel. That's no small thing. What's weird is that his heart is drawn back to these golden calves that Jeroboam set up in Bethel and in Dan.
It's so frustrating. Like, dude, you just got rid of all this other worship of Baal, and now you're turning to, like, I guess a different, cooler, better false god.
It's easy to be deceived.
Yes,
it's easy
for
to
sure.
be deceived.
For sure. So, but as of right now, the slate is cleared. We're like ready to see God move in his kingdoms, and humanity just continued rot.
One thing that you can take away from this is God spoke this judgment through Elijah, and it has now taken place. To the point of Jezebel, like one of the things that was said about Jezebel is like they wouldn't even be able to tell who she was, basically.
Yeah.
And the dogs ate so much of her, it's kind of gross. The dogs ate so much of her, she was pretty much unidentifiable. And so,
really nasty.
like, when God proclaims what will happen, it happens.
Like, to the minute details.
Yep.
Like, ooh.
Yep.
Anyway, so what would be a your part for today?
There's two really interesting things in the text about Jehu. The first one is that he's apparently just a crazy driver. They could tell who he was because his crazy chariot moves, which I think is funny. The second thing is that zeal for God just like defined his life. He wanted to serve the Lord. Now, what's odd is that he obviously didn't stick to that, so that's not great. It reminds me of Solomon, how he was, wise and following God's direction, but then just walked away. I should be clear. I don't think God is calling us to pour judgment out on any people.
But if you think about Jehu, like, after reading about him today, if you think about him, it's like, it's obvious, like, there are things that you point right to his life where it's like, wow, he was very, very, very zealous, if you will, for the Lord and what he was doing.
He was concerned about serving God.
Yes, that marked his life.
And I think that should mark our lives. We should be concerned about serving God. And hopefully it's readily identifiable. Like, people saw Jehu and were like, that dude is serving God.
Yes.
And like, we're in trouble because we're not. So I think, what a thing if people look at you and see your life and say, wow, they really, really serve the Lord. Now, we are in a very different time. We are not going to do the things that Jehu was doing. But if people look at us and know that we are concerned about service of God.
We're definitely not a maybe.
Yeah, not a maybe. Like, that's fantastic. What a way to live your life. So we're just encouraging you with whatever you're doing today, whoever you come in contact with today. hopefully zeal for God defines your life. And if not, man, like, repent, turn back to God. He is gracious. He is merciful. He loves the people that turn back to him. We actually saw that in Ahab. Ahab turned back to the Lord, and he was merciful to him, but then he walked away again. And so we have an opportunity to turn back to God and enjoy him, so I encourage you to do that. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're looking at 2 Kings 12 to 13 then, so we'll see you then.
Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplanyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.